The Senate has released legislative proposals to be considered as part of the reconciliation bill that's currently working its way through Congress. And some of these would have a significant impact on federal employees, namely on their pay and benefits. Let's take a look at the details. Hello, everyone. Ian Smith here with fedsmith.com. Thank you for taking the time to join me. So, what are these legislative proposals? Well, they've been put forth by the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. They released some legislative text with a number of proposals, and it's adding on to the reconciliation bill that's currently going through Congress right now, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. And this is the same bill that was passed by the House last month. And the House version of the bill had some of these same proposals in them. Some were different. So at any rate, let's take a look at the details here. These proposals are being put forth to cut spending. One thing that the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee was touting was the savings that go with these. Just for the package of the proposals that would impact federal employees the most, they were saying that they would amount to over $24 billion in savings over the next 10 years. Let's take a look at each of these individually. The first one is an at-will employment option for newly hired federal employees. If this sounds familiar, it's because it was also in the House version of the bill. However, what the Senate is proposing builds on the House version. For newly hired federal employees who opt to keep their civil service protections under Title V, it would increase the amount they have to contribute to FERS, that's the Federal Employees Retirement System, by 10%. So that would be 14.4% total for most federal employees. If they take the at-will option, it would increase that fee by 5%, so 9.4% total. The House version of the bill is a little different. If they kept their protections, it would be a 5% increase, and if they took or if they opted for the at-will option, no additional increase in their first contribution. So that's the difference in those two. Next up is the MSPB filing fee. We saw this in the House version of the bill. It's the same in the Senate version. It proposes a $350 filing fee for claims or appeals to the Merit Systems Protection Board. And this fee would be refundable on successful appeals. Something that the Senate committee noted is that this fee is the same as what is charged for civil matters in most district courts. So that apparently is the origination of this fee and the amount. The idea is to cut down on frivolous claims, or as the Senate committee put it in its literature on these proposals, baseless claims, quote unquote, they called them. The next provision is audits for the FEHB, the Federal Employees Health Benefits Program. We saw this in the House version of the bill as well. It's pretty much the same in here. This would require eligibility verification of family members added to FEHB plans, audits for looking for ineligible family members who are receiving benefits, and also it would require disenrollment of any ineligible beneficiaries. Estimated savings on this proposal are $2 billion. The next proposal is a new proposal in the Senate version of the bill. This would be pay deductions for federal employees. So what this would do, it would impose a 10% fee to cover administrative costs for any optional payroll deductions made to certain tax-exempt organizations coming out of a federal employee's paycheck, such as unions. Contributions to organizations via methods that don't require government resources, such as writing a check or transferring money via ACH, would not be affected. This is being done because the government incurs costs to process these transactions. And according to the Senate committee, the government should at least break even on any elected payroll deductions to organizations like unions. And speaking of unions, the next proposal is definitely putting restrictions on federal employee unions in the government. This proposal would restrict the use of official time and government resources for union activities. Now, what's official time? Official time is given to federal employees to work on behalf of a union while they continue to receive their full salary and benefits as a federal employee. Under this proposal, unions would be required to reimburse the government for use of official time and resources for union activities. This is something that has come up before. In his first term, actually, President Trump tried to do some of this via executive order. This, if it were to remain in the bill and, of course, be passed into law, it would basically be codifying that into legislation. The next proposal is bonuses for cost cutters. Now, this is a proposal pretty much from Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, who is also the chairman of this Senate committee. He has proposed this in the past via separate legislation, but this would include it as part of the larger reconciliation bill. It's designed to counteract the tendency for wasteful spending to happen in government towards the end of a fiscal year, i.e. the use it or lose it mentality, as it's called. So instead of aggressively spending these funds toward the end of a fiscal year so that the agency could keep that same amount of money in its budget for the next year, it creates a financial incentive for federal employees to report this type of wasteful spending if and when they see it. So it would do this by paying bonuses to federal employees who report this wasteful spending. And under the terms of what's being proposed here, it would be the lesser of $10,000 or an amount equal to 1% of the agency's cost savings determined to be the total savings attributable to the disclosure put forth by the employee. And in the past, when it's been introduced as separate legislation, it was known as the Bonuses for Cost Cutters Act. And the last proposal that's going to be of significance to federal employees is one that would rescind the Postal Service's electronic vehicle funds. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, the Biden administration gave $1 billion to the Postal Service for purchasing and installing electric vehicles, EVs. And what the Senate is saying is that the Postal Service is losing money like crazy to the tune of billions every year. And so this is just yet another requirement on the Postal Service to spend money that doesn't need to be there. It would rescind that $1 billion and also require that the electric vehicles and any unused infrastructure that goes with them to be sold. So that's a summary of the key proposals in this legislative text that the Senate committee has put forth that, again, is going to be of most interest to federal employees. It builds on the House version of the bill. 3 of the provisions are the same or very similar: the at-will employment option, the MSPB filing fee, and the FEHB audits. The Senate proposal, as I mentioned, it does expand on the at-will employment option by upping the fee in question. Or fee isn't the right word, but the contribution amount towards FERS. There is one proposal in the House version of the bill, the version that passed the House last month, that is different, and that is the proposal to eliminate the FERS annuity supplement. But what that proposal would do, it would eliminate the FERS annuity supplement effective at the start of 2028. It would not apply to federal employees already entitled to it under law before the bill was enacted, and it would not apply, again, as currently written, to federal employees subject to mandatory early retirement, such as law enforcement officers or air traffic controllers. That's a basic overview of these legislative proposals put forth by the Senate, at least the ones that are going to be of interest to federal employees. There were others included, but I didn't get into them because, again, I'm just focused on the federal workforce. Whether or not they'll make it into the final version of the bill and ultimately become law, I can't predict that. But we will continue to keep you updated as changes occur and as new information becomes available. So be sure to check the fedsmith.com website and also like and subscribe to the channel for updates. Have a good day.